Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your YBP Gang, YBP Nation, YBP Boxing, YBP MMA, and we coming with the quick, immediate breakdown for the upcoming UFC Noche main event. Bantamweight Championship on the line. Sean O'Malley going up against MERAB DVALISHVILI. I never thought this day would come. To be honest, I thought, MERAB deserved this shot more than anybody in that division. I don't think Cheeto really deserved to get the shot when he did, but we're here. The fight's here, nothing to complain about now. And now it's about MERAB to, show that he's that guy. So I'm excited for it. I'm going to just be giving a quick breakdown, nothing too crazy. It might just turn into a yap session, though. I don't know. We'll see. But before I get into it, leave a like on the video, subscribe, all that type of stuff. But yeah, man, you already know what's going to be said. I think on the Sean O'Malley side, if I'm playing devil's advocate, is that, MERAB, he did get chinned a little bit in the Cejudo fight. He did get rocked a little bit. He tends to, he'll have those moments of, lapses of judgment, he'll just, because his strategy essentially is just going to be to pressure, push on his back foot, and weaponize his cardio, essentially. So, but with that, though, if his cardio is there and he's able to, because MERAB, honestly, at this point, I don't know how much of a finishing threat he is, even though I do think he can get a finish. I don't know how much of a finishing threat he is. I think he becomes dangerous in 4 or 5, but even then it's is Sean, is he going to sub him? Is he going to ground upon him? I'm not really sure, but it doesn't get too good if the fight gets to the ground, because that's just not where Sean is. He hasn't made the improvements in his grappling like a guy maybe Leon, to where, you could be he'll be able to survive, he'll be able to, get out of those positions and, maybe he can at least avoid getting submitted. Sean, I can't say his grappling is to that level. We've seen glimpses of it. People point to he had a grappling match with a legend in the game, but none to the level. None that we've seen in the cage per se. So if we're just looking at it, MERAB's definitely gonna be the way better grappler. And on the feet, O'Malley's gonna have his number. O'Malley's gonna have the power. And a lot of people who are going to be backing Sean, especially with the odds, he's probably going to be a heavy underdog, are going to be saying he was able to chin Aljamain Sterling coming in. He could do the same thing to MERAB DVALISHVILI coming in. Because we've seen him chinned in the Cejudo fight. We've seen him chinned in some other fights. But he's able to recover. He's able to get back into the fight. But what happens when he's facing a lethal striker, someone who can counter him coming in, and someone who's a proven finisher? So I guess my defense against that would be, one, I feel like in the Aljo fight, even though he did catch him coming in, he never really stuck to a truly grapple-heavy game plan from day one, from the start of the fight. And MERAB, I think Aljo has been KO cold. Aljo's one of my favorite fighters, but, I'm not going to say he doesn't. He has a decent chin, but he's been finished before, knocked out cold. MERAB's never been knocked out ever in his career. The guy has crazy toughness, and when he does get rocked, he always recovers. So even if it's against, toughest guys out there, he showed that he has a crazy chin, crazy cardio, and he can get right back into a fight. So, and then I think some other people will argue that maybe the damage, Sean O'Malley can steal rounds with the damage, and that can, with the new rule set, maybe he can overcome the takedowns. But I just don't think by the time he lands that shot, I think, MERAB's good at panic wrestling. He's good at, recovering from bad situations, coming back in fights. A good example is the Marlon Moraes fight. He can do the exact same thing here. So I think, like I said, the biggest thing, I see a lot of parallels between Bilal and MERAB. Because I don't think MERAB is necessarily the wrestler that Bilal is, but he makes up for that with that crazy cardio. The guy doesn't really get tired at all. And I think if you point at the guys he's beat, a guy like Jan, that was a, crazy win. Cejudo, someone who, his ace is wrestling. MERAB was able to pick him up and take him down. Like I said, the Jan fight for 5 rounds is completely dominating him. It's crazy what he's been able to do. And I think a win against Sean O'Malley could actually put him into GOAT conversations for the division, just because we don't really have a conclusive guy. Obviously, Aljo's in the conversation, Dominic Cruz, but MERAB can really, put himself in that company with the wins that he's had prior. And then also beating Aldo. We don't even talk about that. So O'Malley is a tough task because there's been some, honestly, in my opinion, better fighters than him that have come before and haven't done the best against his style. People who fight similarly to him, and they haven't fared too well. So But what O'Malley, where he separates himself is the length. Obviously, he's very big for the weight class. He has that long reach. That's something that MERAB hasn't fought with before. And he's facing a proven finisher, a guy who knows how to finish fights, a guy who has that nasty knockout power, and a guy who can catch people, coming in. And he has good, what's the word for that? Distance management. He can catch people coming in. He knows where he's at in the ring, and just good ring awareness, overall. But and actually someone who has 5 rounds experience, someone who's gone 5 rounds before, and doesn't necessarily have bad cardio, so that he has that going for him, and he's a champion. So he's the golden boy. So maybe if it goes to a decision, we've seen him get a lucky one over Jan. I don't think he won that fight. I think a lot of people will score that fight for Jan, but maybe damage trumps all. Maybe in that case, maybe he can steal a decision over MERAB. I don't know. I don't want to plant those seeds, but all in all, I think MERAB's wrestling, I think it's just too much. I've been saying this. I haven't seen the evolution necessarily in Sugar's game. I see the same guy who kind of just got the Jan, he was gifted a decision, and then in the Aljo fight, Aljo got caught, coming in, and Aljo didn't really apply the wrestling like I thought. I think many people thought he would. Because I think if Aljo gets him to the ground, we know how good of a grappler he is. If you guys saw his grappling match in the Karate Combat, I think Pit Submission Series, the guy, he's impressive on the ground, man. He has crazy ground skills. You could even argue that his BJJ is better than MERAB's with his, length on the ground, what he was able to do with Jan, the chokes that he has. He dispatched Corey Sandhagen easy. So I have no doubt that if he would have, stuck to a game plan, if they fight 10 times out of 10, if they fight 10 times, I think 7, 8 times Aljo wins. I think he just caught him in a bad moment. Everything kind of fell for Sugar Sean O'Malley, and he was able to get that victory. I'm not calling it lucky or a fluke, but I think we know what happens if that fight gets to the ground. I can't say the same thing for MERAB, though. MERAB's not a proven finisher on the ground necessarily. He's even less of a finisher than Aljo, and Aljo's not a crazy finisher. So I don't really expect I think if MERAB wins, it's gonna be ground and pound KO, something like that. I don't see a submission in his sight, but I could genuinely see him getting a round 5, round 4 KO. We saw, I thought Sugar Sean O'Malley, although he was strong in that Cheeto fight, he was strong when that fight was going at his own pace. I like to liken it to a pretty good example of it is when I'm at wrestling practice, or maybe you're doing a workout and you got to switch off between leading it and someone else doing it. It's a lot more tiring when you're the one being told what to do. But when you're telling everyone else what to do, you can kind of, in your mind, you can mentally prepare, okay, this is what I'm about to do, and everything's at your pace, so it's a lot less tiring. You're not having to compensate for the delay time, and then they're doing it, and then you're doing it. I don't know what the science is behind that, but whenever you're leading a workout, whenever you're in charge of what's going on, you're a lot less tired, and it applies to the fight too. If you're out there and you're leading the pace, and you're leading the dance, and you're the one pushing your opponent back, and they're reacting to what you're doing, a lot less tiring than you're getting pushed back. You're the one who's fighting on their terms. You're the one reacting to all the feints and all that type of stuff. And I think that's what MERAB can do. And I think, honestly, anybody, if your name's not MERAB, if you don't have crazy cardio, even though people are going to say, oh, he has 5-round cardio, Sean was bleeding the pace. Let's see how that pace looks when he's on his back foot, when he has to, continuously try to get up, try to go for takedowns. And if he's not trying to get up and he's not trying to, fight to get back up to his feet to land damaging shots, that's not good, because then, if he gets on the ground, he's just laying there, he's not really fighting. That's time for MERAB to land damaging shots, and that's time for him to get that knockout potentially on the ground. So my official prediction is a 5th-round knockout for MERAB. I think that pace, that pressure, he's going to eventually give up that adversity, and he's going to just get overwhelmed with the shots, and he's going to get knocked out ground and pound. So that's all I got for y'all today. Spontaneous, spontaneous. It just got announced, I think. Because the plan was for the fight to get announced, I think, at UFC, at the card tomorrow, UFC 304, but we're getting it, a day early. So that's good. I think Dana White heard from the fans, how you going to, announce an announcement? But, it is what it is. We're getting a really nice fight at UFC Noche. Kind of disappointed with the rest of the card, but, it is what it is. I think people had high expectations because they heard Max Ilya potentially, but it is what it is. We're gonna get a main event, and like I said, man, MERAB, round 5 knockout. That's all I got for y'all today. Leave a like, subscribe, peace out, you know what it is.